Hey everybody, I'm Jordan with Warpfire Minis. In today's challenge game, we got Idoneth Deepkin. Going into Deepkin with the rats, it can be a tough matchup, especially when they're bringing a bunch of sharks. It's going to be a bunch of shooting stuff. So they're going to keep their distance, shoot the crap out of you. Then turn 3, when they're charging in or you're charging them, then they're all going to fight you first anyways. So you really want to get in early. This is one of those games where I'm going to need to hit my charges, going to need to try and dodge the early double turn, and we'll see what we can do.
All right, so it's Deepkin, and what's good with Deepkin right now? It's the sharks. They did the little nerf, but it wasn't enough. So starting out, he's got 6 sharks in his list. 2 on the flanks, 2 in the middle, then there's 2 Gore-Gruntas out here on the board. I just don't have 6 shark models because I'm not a monster. And then from there, 2 squads into Marty Reavers, just to have more shooting. The Turtle to have more shooting plus buffs. And then the Achelian King, melee monster. He's got the command trait to give him extra attacks if he's in melee combat with more units. So gonna try and find a good spot, sling him in and kill a bunch of stuff. Then he has a Tidecaster just to have a spellcaster in the list. And so we finished deploying, this is what it looks like. And we'll just jump into Skaven top of 1. Of course, he gave me the turn, let's go. So going into me, turn 1, I'm gonna go Magical Dominance. He has his Tidecaster pretty far back and no heroes in front of it. So safely outside of 30, we're gonna cast some spells. We go for a Death Frenzy, and I end up making a mistake. I deployed outside of 13 of my Hell Pit, so I couldn't put it on him like I wanted to. Just put it on this squad of Clanrats. Got a Mystic Shield over on Skreech from the same Purple Grey Seer. For prayers, we started with this little guy, and we went for a Pestilence, just picking a point. I'm just trying to proc a prayer to get the reroll prayers if I hit a Great Plague. So we roll there first, and we do. It was my least important prayer, so if it doesn't go off, no big deal. But we got a 4, +2, 6, boom, we're rerolling prayers the rest of the game. From there we would go for a Bless, put it on the Clanrats. And then Skabbik, I had deployed him to put himself in range of this objective, to do his War Scroll one, to where only his little pack of dudes back here are gonna be able to contest that objective if they're on it. And then lastly, I had this Grey Seer over here, within 13 of Skreech. And so measuring things out, I was able to Skitterleap Skreech over here by this gnaw hole. We end up being about 11 inches away from this shark, but also still out of unbind range of the other Tidecaster over there. So this let me safely go for a dreaded 13th. We rolled it and we got it. It's 13 dice, 4 ups or mortal wounds, and we only do 4 mortal wounds. Versus the sharks, I really got to try and kill some of them fast, otherwise they're just going to do a bunch of damage to me in shooting. So only doing 4 here. Not the worst, but we were hoping for a little bit better. It does summon in 4 little Clanrats. From there we go into movement, and we run these Clanrats up this way. This is the pulse for the mission, so you just want to be set up where you're going to be able to control it either way, whichever way it goes. So these guys run up. Then we run the Hell Pit, send them up here to touch this objective too, just in case it becomes the pulse. Grey Seer back here, we end up sticking him here. I'm going to gnaw hole him later to get him over there on that objective. This side, we run the Clanrats up. We run the Plague Furnace up. I don't get quite enough to get onto the objective, but that's okay. We run these guys up to touch the objective. Remember, it's befouled, so if they're touching it, he won't be able to take it. And then Skabbik, I send up here, just not touching the objective. His prayer, it does D3 mortal wounds to things that are on the objective, and it can even hurt my own units, so I keep him off just to keep him safe. And then this little Plague Priest we run over here. Just make sure we get our bonuses for our prayers. And then this Grey Seer over this way, make sure we get our shrugs. End of movement, Grey Seer pops into the gnaw hole. We stick him out over here. That way if he full sends this way, again, we've got a Blizzard threat in range for the most part. And goes to end of movement. I can send in my deep strike stuff, but he's about to go. He's got so much shooting, like my PCBs or my gutter runners, they're just gonna die if they fail this charge. So I'm gonna wait to drop them in, just call it a turn, and we're gonna score 3 points. I'd really debated with Skreech. I tried this charge roll and I failed it because it was like an 11, it's tough. I could have put him in the gnaw hole and put him out over this side and had a 9-inch charge at this shark. And if I made it in melee combat, I probably killed the shark, but then I would have too much power focused on this side of the board. And he's so fast, it would let him just swoop over here. It's just Clanrats in a Hell Pit and just totally wipe this side. So I had to keep things kind of balanced out, go for the long charge and failed. But we'll go into Deepkin, bottom of 1. So for Deepkin's battle tactic, he goes for surround and destroy. He's got those 2 sharks on the flanks, he's just gonna move them up a little bit. The deployment zone's only 11 on this one, so very easy just to walk forward and score. Spells, he tries to cast Mystic Shield, I unbind it, and then maybe an Arcane Bolt, I unbind it as well. So we'll just jump straight into movement. First up, the shark scoots down here to get outside of 3. They move 14, and then they shoot 24, so there's nowhere to hide. Like if I'm on an objective, they're gonna be in range to just come get me right away. And so it's something you just have to live with. This quote-unquote shark over here scoots down. The Reavers push up to get on this objective. Make sure he holds 1. Tidecaster follows behind. Another shark follows behind. So does the king. The turtle flies up the middle. This shark just pushes up a little bit to make sure he scores his tactic. This shark flies up the middle. The Reavers move up a little bit. He was keeping in range of his boat here to make sure he kept his 5 up ward. Then the last shark just moves up this way. Then we jump to the shooting phase, and it's time to get blasted. So the turtle focuses his shots onto Skabbik's crew. It's 8 shots, 3s, Rid 1, D3 damage. So he ends up killing all but 2. And then the other shark here shoots and finishes them off. This shark, since he's within 12, ends up shooting at Skabbik. He's within 12 of him, but I still am -1 to hit for Lookout Sir. So he ends up doing 3 damage to Skabbik. These 2 sharks end up shooting down at these Clanrats and kill 7 or 8 of them. So we have these Reavers and the shark here. They shoot at the help hit and they leave him on 3 wounds remaining. And then this last shark, he tries to kill these little squad of 4 Clanrats just to clear up a screen. And he ends up missing all of his hits and wounds, so it's great. We go to the charge phase, and then since this was his tactic over here, he decided not to charge. He just didn't want something silly to happen where I spike some damage with Skabbik or with the Clanrats and kill him and he fails his tactic. And he's still in a pretty safe spot overall. And then same idea over here, if he charges into Skreech, he does 4 or 5 damage to me and then dies back, so it's just not a good trade. So he calls it a turn and we're sitting 3-3. So then we have a big priority roll here. Shooting armies, they always love getting a double turn. We roll it and he ends up getting it. So here we go again, Deepkin, top of 2. Going second this time, I do get to choose where the pulse is going to go. And I put the pulse on this side. Just with the king and turtle and everybody in range to get on this one, it's not a good pick. So over here, I've got the 2 monsters on. I've got extra Clanrats on. I'll be able to hold this one. So we stick it over here and we'll try and work our way across the board. Over here, I rally and get a couple Clanrats back just to help build a little screen and see if I can hold on and keep this Plague Furnace and these heroes alive. So his tactic this turn was that the Namarti had to kill a foot hero. And I made a mistake here. I ended up finest houring this Plague Priest, thinking that he probably wanted to keep his Namarti Reavers in the center part of the board. He could push them over towards the pulse and then kill this guy and be sitting pretty good. But this guy over here already had 3 wounds on him. And so maybe I should have done the Furnace instead, something like that. But we finest houred here. He casts some spells, I unbind some spells. He gets a Mystic Shield off onto the Killing King, and that's it. So we'll just go into movement. He starts up by moving a shark up this way. And when he does, I redeploy these Clanrats. And the reason why he's gonna charge these guys in, likely over this way, where I wanna force him to fight this because it does so many mortal wounds. And so I redeploy and I get a 6. So we scoot these guys all the way back. So now no matter what, if he gets in range, he's gonna have to fight this Plague Furnace. So then the Namarti, this is where I got it wrong. I thought he'd come this way, but he ends up sending them out wide and goes this way to try and kill this weakened Plague Priest. For the king, this turn they can run and charge for Deepkin. So he rolls his run and he gets a 6. And so that means the king is just gonna be able to fly. And it zooms all the way down here, which that's gonna turn into a bad time fast. This shark flies down this way, try and help out on these combats. Then all these sharks just start shifting over. It's like this guy flies over here. He takes back his spot. This guy flies over here next to the Namarti. And the Reavers, they just move up a little bit. From there, we go to the shooting phase. And to start off, the Namarti, they all out attack, kill Skabbik through the -1 to hit. He's dead, battle tactic achieved. The shark and the turtle here shoot at the Plague Furnace and do about 7 damage to it. The sharks here end up shooting at the Clanrats and the Plague Furnace. Do another 3 to the Furnace and kill a good chunk of the Clanrats. They killed about 11 Clanrats there. Then on this side, Shark shoots Skreech, does like 3 damage. The Namarti, they end up shooting at the Hell Pit and kill him. I roll the dice for the 5 or 6 come back to life. We get a 5. He heals 3 wounds again. He's still alive. And the last shark shoots at him and whiffs, doesn't kill him. We go into the charge phase, and the king zooms over this way, put himself in a really good spot. He ends up sending in 2 more sharks as well. This shark back here failed the charge. Turtle, this was a real long bomb, didn't make it in. And then on this side of the board, I think he rolled a charge for the shark, didn't make it. It was a pretty long charge again, and the Namarti, he's happy with them being on the objective. So that's it for charges. Start a combat phase on the Plague Furnace. I've got an artifact called the Fumigatous, where I get to roll a dice, and on a 5 or 6 it does d6 mortal wounds. I get it and it does 5 mortal wounds to the king, which is great. Unfortunately, the king pops his once per battle thing where he can let D3 Deepkin units fight first. He rolls it, only gets 1, but it's still gonna let him fight with the king first and then still fight with another shark before I get to do anything. So then for the king, since he's around 4 other units, he gets a bonus 2 attacks for each for his big polearm attacks. So 8 extra attacks, it ends up being like 11 attacks. Throws them all into the Plague Furnace. And even though the Furnace is -1 to hit, -1 to wound, the king is +1 to hit. He all-out attack to be +2 to hit to totally negate it. Then he popped his Triumph to give himself +1 to wound. Just all-inning, trying to kill these guys, and he ends up killing the Furnace. And he had even split his attacks where the polearm killed the Furnace. The other little tail attacks ended up killing one of these Clanrats, which is a big deal because now these guys don't get the Lookout Sir benefit in combat. This shark piles in, and with the -1 to wound from the Plague Priest, he ends up staying alive and takes 3 damage. It finally goes to my combat. I'm safe pretty much everywhere else, and so we end up piling in with these Clanrats first, which lets me trigger a pile in for the rest of my army. So I pile in this guy here, pile in this one here. Fight, don't do anything. I end up retreating the Grey Seer out this way. And with the retreat, I'm making sure that I'm within 12 inches of this turtle to try and blizzard him during my turn. Then with the Plague Priest, I left him in combat, hoping that maybe I can spike and kill the Sikelian King. But he got the Mystic Shield, so he's 2-up saves. We swing and we don't do it. I did pile in this way just to get out of combat with the shark. Then it's end of the turn. I didn't have any CP left to pass these Clanrats, so they flee. And so, all in all, getting double turned with a ton of shooting stuff, it feels bad. But we lost our Plague Furnace, we lost Skabbik's boys, we lost Skabbik himself. Losing little heroes is unfortunate for me. But the Hell Pit stayed alive, so that's good. We're in blizzard range here, that's good. So we're gonna try our best. If we can double back, we could turn this into a game. And in other good news, I still held the pulse. He couldn't take it from me. So he just scores the one adjacent to the pulse, 1 for holding 1, and his battle tactics, so he only scores 4 points. So while I'm down on models, I can get up on points, and we'll see if we can hold on to it. So here we go, Skaven, bottom of 2. This turn, I'm looking at my battle tactics, and since I have only the Clanrats left, and then my PCBs and Deep Strike as battle line, I'm always looking to score lead into the Maelstrom quick while I can still do it. Because he killed my priest, I'm not gonna have access to that prayer tactic. So just have to be really careful with these. And looking at it, I wasn't sure that I was gonna be able to end the turn in combat. So we just went with invaders, get up out of my zone, and see what we can do. Just try and kill as much stuff as we can. So jumping into spell casting, first up we're gonna go for the Blizzard. And in this instance, I have 5 primal dice, where he only has 2. So I should be able to get this off. We roll the dice, and I add 3 primal dice, and I get up to a 22. And so I've got 2 primal dice left, and this shark over here was in range to get the dreaded 13th spell. And so I wanted to save a couple primal dice to make sure that goes off, kill this shark. And since my opponent's grand strat is to have units, he can't have anyone within 3 inches of a boat at the end of the game. Having those extra squads of Clanrats hanging around is just a really big deal where it's gonna make him have to dedicate like turtle shots going back there, or he's gonna have to send a shark back there to deal with it. So that's a spell I really want to get off. So we cast, we get it off on a 22. He's got 4d6. He unbinds it. So, God, it would have been sweet if we could have taken out the turtle with that. And maybe I should have added the extra primal dice just to make sure, but 22 on 4d6, I felt pretty safe about it. I think mathematically, like, it was a good play, but didn't pan out for me here. On this side, I get the dreaded 13th off with the other primal dice, and I only deal 3 mortal wounds this time, so the shark is still alive. We do summon in a few Clanrats back there. Again, that's gonna help me with tactics. It's gonna help me prevent his grand strat, so that was an important thing to get off. Next spell, we cast a Mystic Shield from the Grey-Seer, put it onto Skreech. Skreech casts an Arcane Bolt, so we'll go over there and we'll just pop that shark off in the movement phase. And then over here, I go for a Wither onto the King. He's got 2 wounds left, so if I can get that and kill him, that's gonna be awesome. Roll the Wither, cast it. I gotta roll 2d6 and go over his wounds, so I need an 8 or better, and I don't. We go for our prayer. We do Pestilence, Pestilence, where I pick a point, and everybody within 3, I get to roll a dice, and 4 up, they take D3 mortal wounds. We get the prayer off. We don't proc a Great Plague. We roll the dice for the 4 up on the King. We don't get it. We do a couple mortal wounds to each shark. We end up running these Clanrats over here, and the run was I just wanted to make sure I got enough bodies on to take this objective. And so we shoot them up this way. These Clanrats scoot up 6. Skreech goes 12. We're gonna go over here and get these Namarti. I run the Grey-Seer over here next to his bodyguard unit. The Hell Pit we keep over this way. The Plague Priest, I leave him in combat with this King. And my plan is I'm gonna send the Gutter Runners down, and I just don't want there to be a weird redeploy that can take away this zone for me. Like if he got a 6, he could move all the way back here and then I won't have a good spot to drop. So leave him in. I run this Grey-Seer over here deep into these wildwoods where he won't be visible. And then we go to the end of the movement phase. I gnaw-hole the Hell Pit over this way, outside of 9. And then we're gonna deep strike in everybody. Versus Deepkin, it's super important to try and get some value in turn 1 and turn 2. Because turn 3, everything fights first. So I need to drop in this turn and do a lot of damage, take a big chunk out, and then we can be in a good spot for the rest of the game. So we drop the PCBs in back this way towards these Reavers. And then we send the Gutter Runners down here. The King was their chosen target for the game, so they get +1 to hit, +1 to wound, but we just need to proc 2 mortal wounds. Should be easy. From there we go to shooting. The Gutter Runners, they're 3 attacks each, 4s, 4s, 1 damage, no rend, but 3s and 3s versus this guy, 6 to hit or mortal wounds. We do 4 or 5 mortal wounds, kill him. It's great. It would have been wonderful to like split attacks and try and kill this shark and him, but with Deepkin, you have to shoot the closest model, and so it gets weird when you're trying to split the attacks. And just that King, if there was a world where I didn't kill him, that's just the worst. So we're over-dedicating resources, make sure that guy dies. That's his general, so he'll be low on command points. It was just, that was the move. Skreech, I choose not to shoot the Namarti because I don't want him to pull models and make my charge longer. So we'll just jump into the charge phase. Over here, we start now that this guy is freed up. We start with him and I roll a charge and I get a 6. For 3 claw steps, we can use the first charge roll. I've got these guys outside of 9. We really want to go in with a bunch of stuff this turn. So I re-roll the 6 into a 3. And so now I can only use a 3-inch charge for everybody, which unfortunately, like, that's not enough to get anybody in. So now we just got to roll stuff. I roll for the drill back there to try and absorb the Unleash Hell. Fail. Roll for the PCBs, just go in anyways. They're going to lose a big chunk of them, but they'll still have enough to kill those Reavers. Fail the charge. Go over here. We try and send the drill in first. Again, absorb the Unleash Hell. We fail. We go to charge the Gutter Runners in. Again, we could get a few of them in and at least kill a shark this turn. Fail the charge. Hell Pit goes to charge into the shark. We fail the charge. So then we go for Skreech. He only needs a 5-inch charge to make it in. And I need to kill something this turn. So at least killing these Reavers, I'll easily control the objective. It'll be harder for him to take it next turn if he gets the prio, but we roll the charge. We fail the charge on Skreech too. And then also I had charged in these Clanrats early. He didn't unleash hell because he was saving for it for all this stuff that was happening over here. So these 4 little guys, they did make it in and just went down this way. So since everyone failed their charges, The Clanrats are my only combat. I pile him in and swing. I do 0 damage to him. He piles in and swings back and does 0 damage to me. What that does do is, I had lost a couple Clanrats here through shooting from the previous turn. So I end up getting 2 Clanrats back, which I got to put onto the objective. And we do end up taking the pulse back at least. And so between these little guys up here, getting a couple Clanrats back, we do end up taking the pulse, even with all the failed charges. So we're still scoring max, even though the turn went terribly. And now we're going into a big priority roll. And we're in a situation here where this is turn 3. We're going into the Deepkin's powerhouse turn. If he gets the priority roll here, like realistically, I'm just toast. Like he will kill most of my things without any retaliation. But we roll it off. I end up getting priority. So here we go. At least we got a game. So for me this turn, I have to keep in mind everything is fighting me first. So every charge roll I make, that's something that they're just going to devastate me with. PCBs are frail, gutter runners are frail, the hell pits hurt, Skreech, like he's the only thing I could like charge in and feel okay about. And so looking at tactics over the course of the game, I need to score lead into the Maelstrom now. Just during his turn 3, it's very likely that he kills all of my battle line and I won't have access to that later on. So it's not my favorite tactic here, but there's ways we can do it, so we go for it. And we'll jump into spell casting. We roll primal dice. I end up getting 1 primal dice with my bonus acolytes. He doesn't get any. So we go for spells. I start off with a blizzard and I roll a natural boxcars, which is awesome. It means I don't have to spend my primal dice to get it. We roll the damage into the Namarti, who are the only thing in range. And we kill 9 Namarti, which is a little bit below average. And then I did roll 1/1, so I had 3 mortal wounds bounce back on me. Then there's 1 guy left. We've got Skreech there. Again, the Dreaded 13th is such a good spell in this matchup. I want to end up shooting it into this shark, potentially kill a shark with the spell, get more Clanrats, make it hard for him. Roll to cast the spell and I get a 5, but it's a 4 and a 1. And again, since turn 2 went so poorly, I know that I have to take some risks to give myself a leg up. And turn 3 is going to be a bad time anyways. Roll the extra primal dice. I roll the 1. And so it's primal miscast for Skreech. He ends up taking 6 mortal wounds. Over here, I end up casting an Arcane Bolt just to clear this last little dude off. Over here, we do the prayer again, Pestilence, trying to do some mortal wounds over here. We do 1 to this guy. We do 1 to this guy. Then from there, we jump into movement. Even with him fighting first, I have no option here but to full send. There's just so much shooting. Anything I keep back is just gonna die. And then if he doubles me back, it's gonna die again. So I've got to pick my spots and just send everybody in here and hope for the best. So first up, we're gonna shoot this drill down. We're putting him here in a position where I can charge and be within 3 of both of these units, again, to absorb the Unleash Hell. We send the PCBs down here outside of 3. The Gutter Runners move up. Drill moves up. Again, just gonna send somebody in to absorb the Unleash Hell. Hell Pit moves up here outside of 3. These Clanrats we send over 6. The turtle was a little bit further over this way. These Clanrats we send up as well. Just I have to have somebody end in combat. So while I don't love the idea of sending Clanrats into the turtle, it is something where it may score me my battle tactic, and if it clogs up his shooting for the next turn, that's probably good too. So we're putting these guys up in charge position. Run the Grey Seer up this way, and Skreech moves in outside of 3. The Plague Priest, we're getting low on heroes with losing Skabbik and everybody. So I run him over this way. We're gonna try and get him into a little bit safer spot. And then I also forgot this little Grey Seer, he had Skitterleapt himself over to all the way over here. In the hero phase, just same idea, just trying to keep himself safe. From there we go to the shooting phase. Skreech shoots his tails into this shark here and does 2 damage. And then my Gutter Runners, the idea here is there's 1 shark with 6 wounds on him, so he's got 2 wounds left. I dedicate all my shooting into it, thinking I'm gonna kill it, then charge the shark, take some losses, but potentially kill another shark. 30 attacks, 6s to hit or mortal wounds. 4s and 4s, we roll it, and I do 1 damage. I don't proc any mortal wounds on 30 dice. We make it to the charge phase. We start rolling our charges. We're gonna go with this drill first down here. We roll it, and we get an 8, which is great. That means everybody's gonna make their charge this turn. And we send him in. Again, putting him this way to be within 3 of both of these units. So He goes ahead and he unleashes hell with the Namarti, kills the drill. So then we're just free reign on all the rest of them. Since Unleash Hell's been procced, we send these guys over this way. Drill goes over here, staying outside of 3 of the shark. PCBs go in. Hell Pit goes into the shark, getting up onto the objective. Skreech goes this way into the shark. Then I end up sending in this squad of Clanrats into the turtle. And this is just to make him where I need to score that battle tactic. And he's gonna have to split attacks to try and kill both units if I send both in. So it just increases my odds. So we send those and these guys both make the charge in. Then also one quick thing, I did end up gnaw-holing this Plague Priest at the end of the move. From here over to here, and then right back from that gnaw-hole. And I just set him up in the Wildwood, wholly within 6, to give him a +1 to his save for being in cover, and then depending on the angle, they won't be able to shoot him at all because of the Wildwood rules. We make it to the combat phase. Nope, we don't. We go into Monstrous Rampages. I end up going for a Roar here and I fail. Then I go for a Stomp here and I do 2 mortal wounds to the shark. He ends up doing his D6 mortal wound stomp from the turtle and kills 3 of these Clanrats. And now the bummer is, since it's turn 3, even though I charge everybody in, he gets to do all of his combats first. So here we go. He goes with the Namarti first. They end up killing 1.5 Plague Censer Bears. The shark down here does poorly and only kills 2 of the Gutter Runners, which rules. This shark fights down here and leaves the Hell Pit on 1 wound. And then this shark here fights, does a couple damage to Skreech. Turtle fights, dedicates all of his attacks into this squad of Clanrats and kills all but 5. And then I finally get to go. So we start off by piling in the Plague Censer Bears over here. They fight, kill all the Namarti. Next up, we pile in and fight with these Gutter Runners, and they kill this shark finally. Should have done it in the shooting phase, but hey, we'll take what we can get. Skreech, we fight into this shark. He's in his damage 3, Rend 3 stance on his glaive, so he does just enough and kills this shark. Clanrats attack, do no damage to the turtle. Then last but not least, we have the Hell Pit. He fights, puts all of his attacks into this shark. We whiff with him and we only do 3 damage. Then we have the Drill too, and since he charged, he's still eligible to pile in. So we scoot him in. He does D6 attacks that are 3s to hit, 3s to wound, Rend 2, 2 damage. So there's a world where he could spike here and kill this shark. We roll it, we get 6 attacks. We roll them all, we do 2 damage. But now since I'm in range of the shark fights back, kills the Drill. And that was just some well-wishing. If I spiked and killed a shark, would have been awesome, but we didn't. Then at the end of the turn, I gotta do some battle shocks. I end up auto-passing these guys, and I get 2 back. And again, that was my battle tactic to end in combat, and that is gonna give me more bodies to take this objective still, so that's great. This little guy flees. The PCBs, we end up losing 2 to battle shock. I rolled the 6. And then the Gutter Runners, I rolled a 1, so we didn't lose any. For the turn, we get the pulse. We get the ones adjacent to the pulse, so we score max. Got our tactic, that's great. Going into Deepkin, bottom of 3, here comes the pain. All right, Deepkin, bottom of 3. He uses a tactic, he has to kill 2 units. It's one of the Deepkin tactics. And goes to cast some spells, I unbind him, and we just jump straight into movement. This turn, he moves his Tidecaster up, just getting outside of 3. The turn they can fight first, the Deepkin players will a lot of times just shove everything they have because it's all gonna get to fight. And they'll try and clear out combats. Turtle and the shark are still locked down. This shark zooms all the way over this way. This shark leapfrogs these guys, goes over here. And then we go to shooting. The turtle shoots into the Clanrats and kills all of them. This shark shoots the Hell Pit, kills it. And he had already died, I don't get to roll to try and bring it back again. This shark ends up shooting the PCBs and kills 3. And then this shark shoots into the Grey Seer, kills him as well. Losing that Grey Seer, bummer, because now that's my grand strat. Deepkin, there's just so much shooting that you have to stay next to your bodyguard units. Then they can pretty efficiently remove those bodyguard units. So it's tough to score your grand strat for Skaven with that specific one. Then we go to the charge phase. The turtle ends up making his way into Skreech and kills him as well. This shark charged over here, killed all but 2 PCBs. And the 2 PCBs fought back and killed him. F&A, let's go. And then over here, he decided not to charge in the shark. He didn't want to take an Unleash Hell, and then maybe I spike and kill him. He felt that he was in a pretty comfortable position after all those other things happened. So that ends up being the turn. he scores the pulse adjacent to the pulse, but not the one over here, so he only scores 6 points. So we're down big models-wise, but we're still in it points-wise, so we're gonna try our best, do what we can do. So we go priority roll. I need this one pretty bad, and I get it. So Skaven, top of 4. Battle tactic this turn, we end up doing surround and destroy. So I've got the Grey Seer on this edge. Clanrats can run back to that edge while working their way towards his boat to deny his grand strat. And I still have this little Plague Priest back here. So those are my 3. These Gutter Runners, they were over this way a lot farther. I don't remember what happened. I think when they fought a shark, it was over there when they killed it. And so for the turn, I still control this objective. The pulse is here now. There's no world where I get this one. So looking at the board, I know this objective, I'm just not gonna be able to get it. There's no way for me to get enough bodies on to take it away from the turtle. Positioning where you're touching both, just a really good move. So my only real play, I can score the battle tactic fine. I can move these Gutter Runners over here, kill this shark, charge this hero, kill the hero, and then I'll have more bodies on than the turtle, and at least we'll control the pulse in 1 and still score pretty high. So that's our play. So we try to do some prayers, we don't get them, we try to cast some spells, we get a Mystic Shield on the Grey Seer just for himself. And then we go to movement. These guys move over 7. He redeploys, which is a good move. Ends up being like a 9-inch charge here now. I shoot into the shark, kill it, and then we go for the charge. During movement, these 3 guys down here ran back towards that edge to score my tactic. And the Grey Seer ran over this way. So then we go to the charge phase. I roll for the Plague Censer Bears, I fail. I roll for these guys, I fail. Don't make the charge, so we're just gonna score our tactic for surround. We got the Plague Priest, he had to scoot down here. And then I do still control the one adjacent to the pulse. So failing the charges, that's it then for the turn. I do score the one adjacent to the pulse. I still hold 1 total, and then I got my battle tactic, so only 4 points this turn. And don't have a lot to work with, so we're taking risky plays, and we didn't get it. That's gonna happen sometimes. So we go into Deepkin, bottom of 4. His tactic this turn is just invaders. It's gonna be automatic. And to make a long story short, the turtle shoots those 3 Clanrats off the back of the board, moves over and crushes these PCBs. The shark flies up this way, and then dumps his shots into the Gutter Runners, spikes and kills all of them. This Tidecaster, he measured out he wasn't quite close enough to make an auto run to take this objective. So that ends up being his turn. He scores the pulse, scores adjacent to the pulse, but since I had control of this one before, he doesn't get that one, which is a big deal. Going into 5, we got another big priority roll. At this point, it's 20 to 19. I'm up by 1 point still, but I've already failed my grand strat, so I need to make sure I deny his. And if I can deny his, there's a world where I can still tie the game, because right now I still control the pulse. So I'm gonna score that. If I get the turn, I'm gonna score that. I'll score 1 for holding the pulse, but I just won't score 1 adjacent. So it's gonna be 1 point down, and I'm up by 1 point. So if I can stop his grand strategy and score my battle tactic this turn, then it'll end up in a true tie, which for the challenge games, you have to beat me, so the true tie would not count. So we roll priority, I get the priority roll, take the turn. So with what I have on me, the only option I have is a Magical Mayhem. I can teleport this Grey Seer over here within 3 of the boat. I can go for a Wither and kill the shark, and then it'll be a true tie. So we go for it, we're outside of 30 for the unbinds. We roll primal dice and I get 1. I Skitterleap, get it over here. Set up within 13 of the shark. And Wither, I gotta roll 2d6, roll over his wounds characteristic. So it's gonna be a 9, so tough. But if I get it, it does D3 mortal wounds and makes him -1 to hit. And so roll for the wounds, I roll a 10. So we're doing D3 mortal wounds. We just need a 2 and we're gonna tie the game. We roll it and we get a 1. The shark lives. So I fail my battle tactic there. And then again, long story short, going into bottom of 5 now, the shark can easily just walk over, since he lived, and shoot my Grey Seer to death. Him combined with the turtle shooting, like boom, boom, boom. He scores max the final turn for 6 and ends up being a Deepkin victory. And so the final score ends up being 28 Deepkin to 23 Skaven, because he got 3 points right there at the end for the grand strat. And overall, just a great game of Warhammer, man. Like, you're not going to win them all. Sometimes things don't go exactly how you want, but even right there at the end, like, I still had the chance with the Grey Seer. If I had pulled that off, like, that would have been a great story. But hey, maybe we'll get him next time.
So that's how that one shook out. We didn't get the charges. We got double turned, and it's cool. We still had a chance there at the end to try and tie it up, and we didn't. And that's okay too. You're going to lose some games. So congratulations to Michael. He's our first winner of the Warpfire Challenge this year. So he's earned his spot into the tournament at the end of the year. Got that cool black and gold dice. And then we'll see you next week for the next game. If you guys ever need models, check us out at warpfireminis.com. Thank you.